Hello everyone. Now you will hear a fast recap of the movie. Cross the line. Enjoy watching. A young girl, Mallory, goes to another state for a rehearsal for her wedding. But from a conversation with her sister, it becomes clear that she is not sure of her decision.
I want you to be happy. I am very happy.
And then the groom canceled their honeymoon to settle his business affairs. Mel freaked out and wanted to make a detour to think a little more. After some time, the engine stalled, and the girl found herself alone in the middle of a deserted highway. Attempts to fix the car were unsuccessful. Mel wanted to call for help, but the connection did not work. As if that were not enough, she also spilled soda on herself. The girl was going to change her clothes when suddenly a man in an unbuttoned shirt appeared out of nowhere. He immediately offered his help. Christian claims that he often walks here on foot. The stranger tinkered with the car and was able to bring it back to life. After that, the man wished Mallory good luck and said goodbye. I would have given you a ride, but no, everything is fine. Don't worry about me, however. After driving 30 meters, Mallory still stopped and offered to give the stranger a ride. I felt ashamed I couldn't leave. You seem like a good person. You don't know me yet. Christian immediately began to take charge and turned on the music. Then he began to ask personal questions. Mel decided that this was a great way to talk things out. She and Christian would never see each other again. Anyway, after some time, Christian began to talk about how fate had brought them together. Don't be afraid, I'm not flirting with you. I have a very big one, not everyone can handle it. The man continued to say nasty things, and Mel realized that giving this guy a ride wasn't such a good idea. The girl stopped the car and asked Christian to get out. At that moment, he used force, for the first time grabbing her hand. Christian took out a knife and ordered her to move on. They were about to arrive at a cozy motel where no one would disturb them. It had been abandoned for years. Mel assessed the situation and noticed that the maniac was not wearing a seatbelt. Christian was already reaching for his belt, but Mel pressed the gas pedal, and they flew off the cliff. The girl lost consciousness, and when she came to, she found herself hanging upside down. Having fastened her seatbelt, Mallory remained in almost the same position. Her injured leg was tightly clamped under the seat. Christian was lying unconscious nearby. Mel realized that she needed to hurry before the maniac woke up. She bandaged her injured hand and tried to reach for the knife. After several attempts, she succeeded. And right at that moment, Christian approached the car. Tomorrow his head will hurt a little. The scumbag realized that his victim was trapped and would not escape anywhere. Christian just walked away and left her here to die. The girl started calling for help, but the car had flown too far off the road, so screaming was useless. Night fell. Mel found a flashlight and started kicking the car door. She wanted to cry from her helplessness. The girl tried to fall asleep, but the intense cold made her shiver. Suddenly she heard a rustle in the bushes. Mel turned on the headlights, but she still didn't see anyone. In the morning, she was woken up by bright sunlight. Ants were crawling over her body. Mel took a sip from the bottle, but then returned some of the water back. The maniac forgot his wallet here. In the evening, the victim looked through all her supplies. Among them were tampons, napkins, and a bottle of antiseptic. In general, not much. The next morning, Mel saw a deer near the car. With the help of the mirror, she looked around the area and suddenly saw Christian in front of her. Silently staring at her, the maniac admitted that he had found a family house nearby and stocked up on supplies there. The scoundrel had brought lunch here to eat in front of the hungry Mallory. Christian offered to exchange the food for a personal story, for example, about how Mallory lost her virginity. What did he do? What do you think? Whatever he wanted, the pervert realized that Mel was thinking this story. So he left without feeding the girl. In the evening, Mallory fell into despair again and began screaming at the top of her lungs. Then she decided to leave a note for the car, in which she indicated the maniac's name, like if anything, it was he who killed her another cold night. Suddenly, Mel found her fiance's lighter and began to burn all sorts of trash nearby, including her photo having warmed up. Mel wiped her body with napkins and fell asleep again. This time the girl was woken up by rats that were digging all over her body. She was so scared that she stuck her keys into one of the rodents. He forced Mallory to take extreme measures to survive. She gutted the carcass, put 2 pieces of meat on a stick, and fried them. It turned out to be a pretty good dinner. Nell threw the remains of the road and out of the car the next time she woke up because her phone was vibrating. Mallory pulled her mobile phone towards her with the stick, but she didn't have time to answer. The next second, Nell had to hide the phone because Christian came back. He said that his family had returned to the house and he had a lot of fun with them. The maniac appreciated his victim's thirst for life. Suddenly the phone rang again. Christian tried to take it away, and Mallory started fighting back with a knife. Soon the poor thing was left without both the knife and the phone. You don't have to try. I've already called the police. I didn't. The maniac will continue to watch as Mallory gradually fades away and eventually dies of hunger. Although no, he will give the girl a chance. The scumbag began to show the contents of the bag. He brought with him a hammer, a nail gun, and a hacksaw. This is what he will leave for his captive. You can't saw through the door. No, you can't saw through the door. If Mallory doesn't saw off her leg, she will die finally. Make a decision. It's all in your hands. Christian left but promised to return. The girl tried to saw near her leg, and the hacksaw blade broke right away. By evening, Nell was tormented by thirst. She peed in a bottle, gathered her strength, and somehow drank her urine. Almost immediately after that, it started to rain. She had to wait just a little longer to drink the rainwater. A car stopped near the cliff. Nell called for help, but it was Christian again. As promised, he came to visit her. By that time, the rain had turned into a heavy downpour. Mallory pretended to have filed her leg and lost consciousness. Christian crawled up to her and realized that it was actually a crossbow entrails. Mallory attacked the maniac with a file and wounded him in the side. During the fight, she also managed to take the keys to his car. The girl turned on the alarm and threw the keys somewhere in the forest. Christian had to go back to the car to turn off the alarm at that moment. The sheriff stopped next to him. The officer offered his help to the driver. Christian lied that the keys were left inside the car and asked the sheriff to take him to the forest house. Mallory began to honk the horn, and the man seemed to hear her. However, in such weather, it was impossible to see anything. The girl's screams were drowned out by the heavy rain. The maniac was about to stab the sheriff, but then grabbed his hand when the man almost fell off the cliff. The bad weather raged. The lowland began to flood. And at the same time, the car, along with Mallory, the girl realized that there was no time to waste and tied her shin with cloth. She would still have to saw off her leg. But the girl only managed to make a small cut. The flow of water carried the car forward. At some point, the door opened and Melko freed her leg. All that was left was not to drown and get out of the water. Mallory coped with this task. She swam to the shore and saw how the car completely went underwater. The girl leaned on a stick and somehow hobbled towards the nearest town. She passed by the house that Christian had spoken of and suddenly heard a woman's voice calling for help. Nell would not be able to leave the poor thing, who was in the same situation as she was. Suddenly the stick broke, falling into a bear trap. There were others nearby. A police car was parked near the house. There was no radio inside. In the bedroom, tied to a bed, lay a girl in another room. Christian was torturing the sheriff with a nail gun. When the maniac had played enough, he drove the last nail into the officer's head. Mel quietly entered the house. The tortured owners of the house, the girl's parents, lay on the floor next to the sheriff's corpse. Her name is Katie. Christian put on a role-playing uniform. Mel entered the bedroom where Katie lay. The maniac taped her mouth so as not to hear her screams. Suddenly Christian entered the room and threatened Katie that he would sew her mouth shut. Mallory was hiding behind the door. She pointed a gun at him and ordered him to get away from the girl. However, the maniac was not afraid and attacked her. The blonde managed to fight back. Katie also escaped. Mel managed to untie her. Both girls hid. Christian is trying to understand how she managed to get out of the trap. The maniac found her and began to beat her. However, Mel managed to escape again. She cunningly lured Christian onto the balcony and threw him from the second floor. He rolled down the slope and fell into a bear trap. Christian found himself in roughly the same situation Mallory had recently found herself in. The girl would also give him a chance to survive. She kicked the maniac with a knife. If Christian wanted to survive, let him cut off his own leg. The girls headed toward the road, leaving the scoundrel to bleed to death. Thanks for watching, my friend, and don't forget to subscribe.